Have Western governments declared war on their own people? I know that sounds completely crazy, and only 9 months ago you might have ignored something like that as clickbait. But let's look at the facts. The outlier here is the state of Victoria in Australia. They've put in place a police state, no more, no less. If it could happen there, it could happen anywhere else. There are some suggestions of some pretty extraordinary things going on during the nighttime curfew, such as the installation of Chinese-style biometric cameras. This is the infrastructure that would enable the nightmarish social credit system to be deployed, but I can't confirm this, so let's just focus on what we know. First, if you are still watching TV, turn it off and throw it away. The legacy media, TV news types are complicit in pouring out propaganda by press release 24/7. They don't question or even do the most basic journalistic tasks anymore. You get shown videos of Boris or Whitty looking serious and saying something scary, then a vox pop of a few simpletons agreeing with the latest restrictions. They aren't fit to be called journalists. There are almost no contrary views, and the few that do make it to air get hostile interrogation and abuse. There's an old TV trick. You pick the most stupid, least eloquent advocate of a position and you put them on after, say, the chief medical officer. You don't get peer-to-peer debate, and you easily could. This would be balanced reporting. There is none. And it's not as if there are no alternate opinions. In a recent letter to Boris Johnson, Professors Hennigan, Gupta, Sikora and many others lamented the absence of any clearly stated objective for the government's policy. Initially we had to flatten the curve, protect the NHS. Okay, but what is it now? The professors think that the unstated objective appears to be the suppression of the virus until such time that a vaccine can be deployed. They go on to point out, with a real understatement, that such an objective is increasingly unfeasible. This is because we don't know when or even if a safe, tested vaccine will ever be available, and we really can't sign up to a policy of open-ended house arrest. This is a route to the prison poorhouse, and it's total madness. There is a deeper and more troubling question. Why is such a crazy, destructive policy being wrought on innocent people? Why is the economy which sustains our existence and funds the NHS being destroyed? Why are our ancient freedoms and liberties being shredded? And all of this for something which has allegedly killed less than 2,000 people between late June and September. Around 9,000 people die every week in the UK. In early September, around 1% of those deaths were associated with COVID. Not caused by COVID, but the person tested positive, so it was mentioned on the death certificate. The Daily Telegraph, linked below, showed that week ending September 4th there were 830 excess deaths at home, compared to only 99 from COVID. In the same period there were 371 fewer deaths than normal. This strongly suggests that people have been unwilling or even unable to access life-saving treatment for other diseases because of the COVID fixation. In the link you'll find a graphic presentation which shows excess deaths in the UK in August. UK excess deaths are above almost all other European countries. Something is very wrong here, and even if COVID went away and we opened up everything tomorrow, the waiting lists are now very, very long, and it may take years to get back to pre-lockdown levels. In short, many, many more people are now dying and will continue to die in the years ahead because of causes other than COVID. Well, at least we can peacefully protest, right? If the police will take the knee to the Marxists of BLM and will sing and dance with Extinction Rebellion, surely they'll quietly permit peaceful protests against government policy, right? Well, no. There's a lot of footage on social media, some showing some very, very handed policing of Sunday's protest in Trafalgar Square. Apparently it was declared no longer permitted because people weren't social distancing. So you see, it was for their safety. This has happened to no other protest whatsoever, even if they were wearing paramilitary uniforms, which is itself illegal. There's a link to the Met's Twitter feed below, but no information on who authorised this. When the state sends in baton-swinging riot cops to charge peaceful protesters for their own safety, something is very, very wrong. Anna Breeze, the redoubtable BBC journalist, or former BBC journalist, reported that Dr. Heiko Schoening was arrested at Hyde Park and dragged off to Wandsworth police station for 22 hours. His phone, laptop and a book were seized. He's not a known rioter or a terrorist. He just had facts on COVID which don't suit the government narrative. Other than that, it's not clear what crime he committed. Incredibly, when he was released from custody, he made a statement which was deleted from Anna's YouTube account. So you aren't allowed to hear what he was going to say at the protest, and YouTube don't want you to hear what he had to say after his release from custody. This is Stalinist, and this is sinister. It's an established principle in the UK that since the franchise was first achieved and then fully extended in the 1918 Representation of the People Act, we are governed not by force of arms but by consent. This was until now acknowledged by virtually everyone. We prided ourselves on Speaker's Corner and had to tolerate some pretty dubious characters spouting some pretty awful stuff, because that is the price of free speech. It's a high price, but it's worth it to ensure our own freedom to speak. On the weekend, that was swept away when a German medical doctor was arrested and prevented from speaking. The seizure of his book is unbelievable, and it would almost be comic if it weren't so frightening. The right to speak freely has been under attack for a while. Hate speech laws were passed, and at first only fringe political figures were targeted. A Canadian nationalist found herself arrested at the airport under the Terrorism Act and deported. Her crime? Wanting to speak at a rally. It doesn't matter if we don't like what she may have said. It doesn't matter if we think she's crazy. It does matter if the state misuses terrorist powers to stop free speech. It doesn't matter if we love or loathe fringe political figures. Their right to speak guarantees our right to speak, and we must protect and defend those rights. Freedom of speech and freedom of association are principles which generations of Britons have fought for and died for. We fought against German imperialism of the Kaiser and National Socialism of Hitler. We fought Mussolini's Italian fascists and the Japanese imperialists. We fought communism in Korea in the 50s, and we fought fascism again in the South Atlantic in 1982. Let's not betray our soldiers. Let's not betray their legacy. Let's not yield to tyranny and oppression at home. If you like this, please like, recommend, and subscribe.